Freedom Fighters and Growth Unlimited present Biden's Folly, the Destruction of the American Economy, 2021. Hi, I'm Jeanette Larsen, CEO of Growth Unlimited, and your host for this presentation. Is it patriot promises or liberal leftist folly? President Joe Biden told the nation this week in his 100-day address that he was proposing that the U.S. spend $6.2 trillion on the programs he was promoting and the needs he perceived that the country had. It sounded like a very large number, so in a moment of boredom, I decided to check it out to understand exactly what he was talking about. I think I'm a lot like most Americans. I tend to push limits until my back is against the wall, and I do my best to avoid confrontation. I'd really like everyone to be healthy, happy, and financially secure. I tend to gloss over big numbers. I started wondering about trillions of dollars. Just exactly how much was that anyway? Talking in money can generally cloud the picture for me, and I have a tendency to pull away from things like that. So I decided to ask Google about what a trillion was using another frame of reference. So I went to my phone and I said, Google, exactly how long is 6.2 trillion seconds? And the Google assistant answered me. She said that 6.2 trillion seconds translated into 71,759,259.26 days. Oh, that surprised me a little. I had not comprehended the enormity of a trillion anything. So when I picked my jaw up off the floor, I asked again, Google, how many years are in 6.2 trillion seconds? And Google responded to me that there were 196,600.7103 years. So that was a little bit more feasible number to my mind. And so at first I felt a little bit relieved. It was a little more comfortable. But then I realized that the birth of Christ, something that people believe occurred a very long time ago, happened a mere 2,120 years ago. The comparison between 196,600 years and 2,120 years became a big deal again. Then a quick mental flash occurred, and I questioned whether the Earth would even be around at the end of 6.2 trillion seconds. Then I wondered how someone who was supposedly wise and experienced in public policy, and who claimed that they had the best interests of the American people at heart, could, in good conscience, even propose to create the kind of financial jeopardy for the country that such a huge expenditure that was so far beyond the means of our country would cause. Is this truly representation of Americans? Is it focused on maintaining the good of America? Or is it an example of an exhibition of saying things that are meant to cloud the minds of the public and feed a personal greed for power? Are we being lied to again with promises our leaders think we might want to hear so that they can exploit us in our willingness to follow them blindly? Is the wool being pulled over our eyes once again? And most importantly, what are we going to do about it? Let's look at how this proposed spending will affect each and every person in our country if it's passed by Congress. First of all, we need to remember that the federal government is not a business like the store down the street. It doesn't sell a product, and its services are not provided to make a profit. Its only real means of generating revenue that is needed to run the country is through taxation of the citizens it supposedly represents. Even if they do get money from another country or another entity of some sort, that money is a loan and it has to be paid back, and ultimately the money that pays that money back to whoever they borrowed it from comes from the taxpayer in the form of taxes. So ultimately, all revenue that the government has to spend comes from the taxpayer. If the reports from the 2020 census tell us that when the census was taken, and they do, that there were 331,449,281 individuals living in the USA. That is the population of the people that live in our country, and this population is representative of all the different races and economic backgrounds of people who live in the country. The numbers include people who do work and people who do not want to work, as well as people who can't work. And it includes people who are too young to work. It includes people who are too old to work. It's every single one of us. So I took the $6.2 trillion proposed debt and divided that by the total number of people who are living in the United States according to our last census. And I discovered that if this package is passed, at the minute it is signed, that every single individual in the United States, regardless of their age, regardless of their economic status, regardless of their work status, regardless of their ability to work, will suddenly inherit a massive debt of $18,705.73 per person. Now, if President Biden's minimum wage proposal passes, it will mean that people who earn that wonderful $15 an hour minimum wage will have to work over 1,274 hours in order to cover the cost of their share of what his proposed expenditures are going to cost us. That means that each person will have to work at least 1,274 hours. That's over 6 months of working full-time hours in order to begin making any money that they can use for themselves and their family. Additionally, the figures do not reflect the cost of interest and other charges that the Fed will incur when they borrow the money from other sources until it can be paid back by we citizens. It also doesn't reflect the financial loss business in the U.S. will take as a result of lost sales worldwide, as well as the sales they'll lose because citizens won't have the money to spend because they're working 6 months, in essence, without pay in order to cover the cost of Biden's folly. The more I thought, the more I realized what a predicament we're in. How can we afford this? Well, it's obviously time for a change. You know, when each of our personal budgets reach a crisis, responsible Americans go to work, decreasing expenses and refusing to generate even more debt. If family members or other people who are involved with the budget have actions that are financially irresponsible, we make adjustments in how they're able to handle or have access to the funds. We all then work a little harder and plan a little more carefully until we're able to regain that financial stability. The same thing holds true with what's happening in our federal government today. It's time for action. Time to exercise the responsibility you have as a voting American citizen to get involved to correct the issues and make sure that they don't recur. Change can occur through the use of legal and nonviolent means. We do not have to engage in violence and hurting other people in order to get things back on the right track. The Constitution outlines specific rights, responsibilities, and privileges that you have as an American, as well as providing the framework for effective governing by elected officials. And we can use those things to get ourselves back in order. We as citizens have the civic responsibility to know what is in our Constitution. We have the right to support and defend its content through the use of legal, nonviolent means to oversee the actions of the people we have elected to office. We have the base responsibility to make sure that these people are doing the job that they were hired to do, and to take action if necessary to remove them from office or to curb their ability to continue to exploit the system for their own needs and their own means. If you share my concern and are worried enough to realize that the time is here to engage in actions to take control of this looming disaster before it annihilates us, but you don't know what to do, you can start by joining Freedom Fighters. We're an online community developed and run by patriots who dream of a free country for everyone. So join me on site for Freedom Workers. Membership is free, and you'll be talking and working with people who share your concern and are ready to take the action necessary to get things under control. Join us and find out how. I'll place the link to the site to join our community below this video. Please join us. Help us save America.